At my parents' 40th anniversary dinner, there wasn't a single chair set aside for me. Not even an extra squeezed in at the end of the table. My aunt just laughed like it was some harmless joke. Guess you'll be standing, since you've kinda drifted from the family anyway. So I ended up at the bar while the rest of them gathered around a cake and took smiling group photos like I didn't exist. A few hours went by before the restaurant manager finally walked over, clearly uncomfortable. He leaned in and said, "Your parents mentioned you'd be covering tonight's bill. The total comes to $4,800. I didn't flinch. Just stood up, finished my drink, and gave a flat, "Oh, I must have left my wallet in the car." Then I turned and walked out without looking back. Behind me, I heard my mom shout, "Well, who's going to pay then?" But I didn't stop walking. I didn't need to look to know how that scene would play out. The whole night had been off from the start. I'd shown up early and hovered by the doorway of the private dining room, scanning the long table set with white linen, candles, and neatly folded name cards. 14 seats. Every one claimed. None with my name. I just stood there like an idiot, trying to process it. That's when my Aunt Claire, half a glass into her Chardonnay, caught sight of me. She lifted her drink and smirked, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, "You can stand. I mean, you're kind of a stranger to the family now." A few cousins gave polite, awkward chuckles. My dad sat at the head of the table next to my mom and younger brother, completely unfazed. Didn't even glance in my direction. I forced a tight smile. "Nice to see you too, Claire," I muttered, then turned and walked away. I wasn't going to give them a scene. Instead, I slipped out to the bar, just a few steps from the private room, but honestly, it felt like a world apart. While they clinked glasses and posed with their fancy cake, I sat on a stiff bar stool, quietly nursing a whiskey neat. I probably should have just left right then. Lord knows I had every reason to. But some fading thread of loyalty or maybe just stupid hope, kept me stuck there. So I sat and watched them all from the sidelines, laughing and hugging and pretending like they were one big happy family. Like I hadn't helped dig them out of debt just last year. Like I hadn't footed the bill for half of that damn dinner they were now celebrating at. Then my brother stood up and raised a toast. "To family," he said with a proud grin. The words hit me like a punch. I almost choked on my drink. 2 hours passed. I was still at the bar, half scrolling through my phone, when the manager approached. He looked like he'd drawn the short straw, nervous, shifting his weight. "Excuse me, sir," he said, "your parents said you'd be handling payment tonight." I blinked. "Payment?" He nodded and showed me the invoice, $4,827.50. Through the glass doors, I could see my dad slicing the cake while my mom clapped and cheered. Not a single person in that room even looked my way. I stood up slow, downed the last of my drink, and gave the manager a polite smile. "Left my wallet in the car," I said softly. Then I turned and left without saying another word. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice pierce through the noise. "Well, who's paying now?" But I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. Deep down, I think I knew this night was always going to be another performance in the long-running show called Humiliate Me. It always ends the same. I give, they take, and then pretend I was never there. I've been the family's safety net for years. Not because I wanted to be, but because I was the quiet one. The responsible one. The son who didn't make trouble and always picked up the slack. That's what my mom used to say, usually right before asking for money. It all started when I landed my first real job after college. IT security. 6 figures. No connections, no shortcuts, just late nights, side hustles, and grinding harder than anyone else I knew. None of them were there for that. They didn't even bother coming to my graduation. Said it was too far, too pricey. But when they were about to lose their house to foreclosure a year later, I was their first call. No thank you. No real explanation. Just my dad on the phone saying, "You're the only one who can fix this." Like I was the family repairman. I wired them $18,000 that same week. And that was just the beginning. Car repairs. Emergency room copays. My brother's DUI lawyer. A surprise baby shower for a cousin I barely knew. Every crisis, big or small, somehow became mine to fix. And I did. Over and over. Like a fool. What finally broke me wasn't even the money, it was what happened when I finally said no. That turning point came 6 months ago. After years of dishing out support, I told them I was buying a condo. First real investment in myself. I explained gently that I needed to pull back financially. The silence on the phone was deafening. Then came the guilt trip. After all we've done for you? My mom sighed. My dad snapped. So you'd rather watch your family suffer than wait on a couch? Then my brother, of course, had to throw in his 2 cents. You wouldn't even have that job if we hadn't taught you how to work. This, coming from the same guy I once bailed out of jail with $2,000 after he got arrested for public intoxication. That night, something inside me just shut off. I decided I was done. No more handouts. I said no when my brother got evicted and begged me to co-sign a lease. I said no when my parents wanted money for a medical cruise they swore was for Dad's back. I said no when cousin Olivia tried to rope me into yet another one of her get-rich-quick MLM scams. And as my wallet got colder, so did their warmth. Family dinners stopped. Group texts dried up. Birthdays came and went without a word. When my uncle passed away, I found out through Facebook. So when that invitation showed up for their 40th anniversary dinner, the first outreach in months, I thought, maybe this was it. Maybe they wanted to reconnect. Maybe they missed me. But no, it wasn't reconciliation. It was just another setup. I wasn't even on the official RSVP list. No chair for me, no name card, nothing. Like I hadn't existed at all. And then, just to twist the knife, Aunt Claire threw her little jab like it was a joke. You can stand. You drifted from the family anyway. They all laughed. Like it was funny. Like I was the entertainment. And the worst part? I stayed. Sat there at the bar, looking like a fool, clinging to whatever was left of that frayed rope called family loyalty. I watched them pose with the cake, probably one I unknowingly paid for, and sip champagne like they hadn't completely frozen me out the moment I stopped handing out money like an ATM with legs. Then came the final gut punch. They dumped the $4,800 bill on me like I was some side character in their little drama. That was the moment it clicked. They didn't see me. Not really. Not as their son. Not as a sibling. Heck, not even as a human being. To them, I was a walking wallet. And once a wallet runs dry, you toss it. That's what they did. So I left. For the first time ever, I didn't stay and clean up their mess. I let them deal with the fallout themselves. But if they thought that quiet exit was the end of the story, they were in for a surprise. Because that dinner wasn't the final chapter. It was just the opening line. 2 days passed. Not a peep. No texts. No calls. Not even one of those manipulative emoji-laced check-ins my mom used to send when she wanted something. Just silence. Heavy, deliberate silence. But on day 3, the mask cracked. My phone lit up like it was Christmas morning. First up, 5 missed calls in under an hour. Then came Dylan, my brother, the family golden child. He called twice back to back, which he only ever does when there's a price tag involved. And then Aunt Claire sent a text. Short and sharp, you owe the family an apology. That was humiliating. The dinner was for your parents, not about you. Because clearly, the best way to honor your parents is to leave one of their sons out and then dump the bill on him like some kind of joke. By lunchtime, I got pulled into a newly created group chat titled, and I'm not kidding, Family Responsibility. The message read like a press release. We were all deeply embarrassed by your behavior. Walking out like that was immature. You humiliated your father on a very special evening. The bill still hasn't been paid. You agreed to cover the cost. We're asking you to do the right thing by week's end. Family is family. No greeting. No apology. Just that same cold, controlling tone I'd grown up with. Not a single person mentioned there was never a seat for me. No one said a word about Claire's smug little comment. Nobody asked if maybe, just maybe, things could have been handled better. And that was the spark. Not a flicker. Not a nudge. A full-blown fire lit inside me. Because here's the truth. I'd always been the fixer. The one who patched the cracks so no one else had to. I was the guy behind the scenes, the bridge, the backup plan, the peacekeeper. I paid for things no one else even saw. Doctor visits, car breakdowns, overdue bills. I was the guy who never forgot birthdays, even though mine passed unnoticed. I even paid for Dylan's second failed shot at getting his real estate license. Never even got a thank you text. But that group message? That was the final insult on top of years of quiet betrayals. So I took action. Not through another passive-aggressive reply. Through receipts. First thing I did was email the restaurant manager. Sent him screenshots of every message I had. Showed him there was never a single agreement, verbal or written, where I said I'd be paying for that event. He replied quickly. Thank you for clarifying. We'll update the invoice and contact the party responsible for the booking. Translation? That $4,827 bill was now their headache. Not mine. Then I did something I hadn't planned on. I posted the whole thing on Facebook. At first, I wasn't trying to go public. But something in me, maybe that little part of me that had stayed silent for too long, wanted to speak. So I wrote. For years, I gave everything I had to a family who only saw me as a bank. I paid for medical bills, repairs, even a vacation. But the moment I said no, they iced me out. At my parents' anniversary dinner, I wasn't even given a chair. And yet they expected me to pay the $4,800 bill. So I walked out. And I don't regret it. Walking away isn't betrayal, it's self-respect. I hit post and shut the app. By the next morning, it had blown up. Over 4,000 reactions. Comments from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old classmates wrote, "You always were the quiet one, but the realest guy I knew." Former coworkers chimed in, "Man, same thing happened to me." Props for speaking out. Even distant cousins I barely remembered DM'd me privately. "We've always seen how they treat you. You're not crazy." But then came a message that made my stomach twist. It was from the bank. Someone had used my personal information to open a credit card under my name. And they maxed it out. $6,200 gone in a flash. I requested the transaction log, and my heart sank. First-class airline tickets. A brand new 65-inch OLED TV. 3 separate Amazon orders that totaled $1,100. And the kicker? A cruise deposit, $1,800. Romantic, of course. All the purchases were made in the 3 days leading up to the anniversary dinner. I didn't need to play detective to know exactly who did it. They'd planned it, all of it. Expected I'd just pay, again. Like always. I could have screamed. Instead, I got in my car. And I drove. Straight back to the house I once rescued from foreclosure. The same house I thought was home. Mom answered the door. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. "Brian," she gasped, stepping back. I stayed calm. Didn't raise my voice. Just looked her in the eye and asked. "No hug." She stammered as she opened the door. "We didn't expect." "You expected the money," I cut in, my voice flat. "Always the money." She looked like she wanted to say something more, but I lifted my hand. "I'm not here to argue. I just came to talk about the identity theft." She blinked like she didn't understand. A credit card was opened using my name. Without my permission. She hesitated, fumbling for words. "That was, your father thought it'd just be easier to..." "Easier to what?" I snapped. "To open a line of credit under my name without telling me? To max out a card and just assume I'd swallow the bill?" I didn't need to raise my voice. The fury came through quiet and clear. That's when my dad showed up in the doorway behind her. Arms crossed. Voice tight. "You've always helped before," he said. "What's different now?" I let out a bitter laugh. "What's different? You threw me out of your celebration without a chair. Then you stuck me with the tab. You used my name to buy a new TV and book a damn cruise. And you didn't even blink. That's what's different. I finally see you for who you are." "We're your parents," he barked. "We gave you life. And I gave you my savings," I snapped right back. "I gave you my 20s. I gave and gave for years. But the second I asked for space, you shoved me out." My mom's voice cracked. "We were counting on you." "No," I said quietly. "You were using me." I reached into my coat and pulled out a folder. Handed it over. Inside? Affidavit. Bank documentation. I've already reported the fraud. You've got 48 hours to make this right or I escalate, legally. And I will follow through. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Don't do this. I didn't do this, I said, calm but firm. You did. I turned to leave. And just as I stepped outside, I heard it again, my dad's voice, this time not so confident. Correct. Who's paying now? I stopped at the edge of the driveway, turned back just enough to meet his eyes. You are, I said. Finally. Then I walked away. I wish I could tell you that leaving felt powerful, like the end of some heroic movie. But it didn't. Not even close. It felt like my chest forgot how to breathe. I climbed into my car and just sat there. No music. No destination punched into GPS. Just the low hum of the same neighborhood I once helped save from foreclosure. Now just behind me. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Brian, let's talk. We didn't mean for it to go this far. But if you go through with this, you'll regret it. Family doesn't turn on family. But then came Dylan. My younger brother, the golden boy, the one who always knew how to cut deepest with the fewest words. You made your point. Now grow up and fix this. You owe them. We all know it. I stared at that message a long while. Then I opened my banking app and sent Dylan exactly 1 cent on Venmo. The caption? Here's everything I owe. Then I blocked him too. The next 2 weeks were brutal. I filed a full identity theft claim with the bank, froze my credit, and started the long, painful process of cleaning it all up. Hours of phone calls, paperwork, fraud verification steps. But I wasn't just doing it to protect myself anymore. I was making a statement. I'm done being the family's financial fallback. And just as I thought things might finally cool off, the universe decided to throw a little gasoline on the flames. A college friend messaged me with a screenshot from Facebook. It was a post from my cousin, the same one who'd blocked me years ago when I wouldn't invest in her essential oil MLM scam. The post was a full-on rant. Angry, self-righteous. She wrote, "Some people have clearly lost their sense of loyalty and are dragging family through the mud online. We're not a business deal. We're a family. Anyone siding with Brian needs to take a hard look at their priorities." She even linked to my viral post. Screenshots of my identity theft report were attached. I didn't even know how she got them. The comments? Split right down the middle. Half the family came charging in with their pitchforks. My aunt, typing in all caps. He could have just paid and moved on. Blood is blood. Another cousin chimed in. He's always acted like he was better than us. Just 'cause he has a nice job. But then, the tide turned. People I hadn't heard from in years started showing up in the comments. Quiet cousins, in-laws, family friends. People who had watched it all unfold in silence. You all used him for years. He always showed up when nobody else would. He once helped me fix my car when I didn't have anyone to call. Y'all forgot that. Funny how your love ran deep until the money stopped. Now he's the villain. The support flooded in. DMs, texts, even emails from people I barely remembered. Some thanked me for speaking up. Others shared their own stories, how they'd been manipulated, guilt, or pushed aside by the same core family I'd grown up in. Some even apologized. Said they'd laughed behind my back. Said they were sorry for being silent. Sorry for going along with the gaslighting. But the most unexpected message? It came from Dylan's ex. "Hey Brian, I know this is random, but I saw your post. I've stayed quiet for a long time, but you deserve to know." Then she sent screenshots. Chat logs between her and Dylan. Messages where he literally bragged. "Brian always pays if we guilt him right. He'll cover the whole thing." And worse. "My mom's opening the car in his name today. He won't say no. He never does. He won't push back." That last line? It knocked the wind out of me. Because that had been the role I played for so long. The quiet one. The dependable one. The invisible fixer who just kept showing up and never made a fuss. But that wasn't strength. That was silence. And that silence had given them room to build their castle of entitlement, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. So I took those screenshots and did the one thing they never expected. I sent them. Directly. To my parents. I didn't add a caption. No context. Just sent the screenshots. This is who you raised. The next morning, my phone lit up with a call from a restricted number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my dad. Brian, his voice cracked. I saw the screenshots. I didn't know. I swear to God, I had no idea. He paused. Your mother, she thought Dylan was just being sarcastic. We didn't realize. He trailed off again. Then quieter. I think we made some mistakes. I didn't return the call. A week later, the credit card was paid off in full. The fraud case was closed. Just like that, I was officially, legally, free of them. But emotionally? That was a whole other process. I spent nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, picking through years of moments, birthdays I covered without question, medical bills I paid out of guilt, calls I answered just to keep the peace. I was stuck replaying it all. And the weirdest part? I didn't feel guilty. Not one bit. What I missed wasn't them. It was the idea of family, something warm, unconditional, safe. But that dream had already died a quiet death. So, I decided to build something new from scratch. I moved. Found a small place, nothing big, but it felt mine. Photos I actually cared about on the walls. My mugs in the cabinets. My name on every piece of paperwork. No one else's. I reconnected with old friends. The kind who never wanted anything but my time. We brought back game nights. Cookouts. Dumb jokes. Real laughter. Laughter that didn't come with a price tag. And little by little, I felt it, like I'd finally shaken off 1,000 invisible chains. Felt lighter. Then one evening, a name I hadn't seen in 10 years popped up in my inbox. Lena. My cousin. The quiet one who used to sit beside me at family dinners. Her message was short, but it hit me hard. Thank you. You said everything I never could. I cut them off too. Seeing you do it made me feel less alone. And that's when I knew what I did wasn't just right for me. It was right for anyone who'd ever felt unseen, used, or silenced. Because staying quiet doesn't protect you. Setting boundaries does. It's been 6 months since that night. 6 months since I stood up from that bar stool and let their $4,800 fantasy crash without me. They still talk about it, I'm sure. I imagine Aunt Claire was stunned when the server handed her the bill. My mom scrambling for a credit card. My dad seething, realizing his quiet, dependable son had finally stopped being useful. I wasn't supposed to walk out. I was supposed to smile. Swipe my card. But I didn't. And I've never felt freer. 2 months after the fallout, I took a new job in a new city. A cybersecurity firm that actually sees my value, my time, my skills, me. They gave me a signing bonus. I used it to buy a couch. Not for guests. Not for hosting family dinners. Just for me. Now, I wake up without dread in my chest. No more missed calls loaded with guilt. No last-minute requests wrapped in, just this one time. No emotional blackmail disguised as, we're family. Just silence. Sweet, earned silence. And then one day that silence broke. Sort of. A manila envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Inside, a handwritten letter. From my father. Brian, I don't expect forgiveness. But I owe you the truth. And then, in his own words, he admitted everything. He knew about the card. Dylan wasn't joking. My mom told him to write it out because Brian always caves. But this time, I didn't. And for the first time, they had to face the fallout. The bank froze their accounts. The cruise got canceled. They lost their deposit. Worse still, that viral post I made didn't stay among friends. Someone forwarded it to his coworkers. His church. People who once respected him. He wasn't writing to apologize. He was writing because he was broken. I thought I was the patriarch, the provider. But I turned into someone who only took and gave nothing in return. And the one person I leaned on the most was the one I failed. Enclosed with the letter was a photo. A real one. No filters. No edits. It was from that anniversary dinner. The one I wasn't allowed to attend. There they all were, My parents, Dylan, Aunt Claire, a few cousins. And right in the middle of the shot? An empty chair. No one sat there. My dad wrote that he'd told the photographer to leave it open, just in case I showed up late. Sure, call it poetic. But it was still bullshit. I didn't write back. Didn't need to. Because here's what I've learned. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's a choice you make for yourself. It's knowing you were right to walk away. It's recognizing that love without respect is just control dressed up in family values. It's refusing to be defined by what you can give to people who only ever take. A few weeks later, Dylan's name popped up on LinkedIn. Unemployed. I didn't laugh. I didn't feel smug. I just kept scrolling. He's just a name now. A ghost from a chapter I've already closed. Even my mom reached out eventually. Through a mutual contact. We're selling the house. Things haven't been the same since you left. No kidding. You pull the foundation out from under a house long enough, it falls apart. And I was the foundation. But here's the thing. I'm not rebuilding their home again. I'm building my own. With people who respect me. With new boundaries. With a new idea of family, one that doesn't come with an invoice. Sometimes folks ask if I regret how it ended. If I wish I'd handled it more gently. Said something softer. And here's what I always tell them. I don't regret walking away. I only regret not doing it 10 years sooner. Because when I left that dinner, I wasn't walking away from my family. I was escaping them. And every step I've taken since has been mine. Every step has been freedom.